Do 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 do. I don't know what this dog's going on about. Good evening, good people. We're back here on the TikTok. There's been something, baby, I've been trying to say. For an age, and it seems I don't know how. With the past and the future now surrounding me, surrender to whatever cheap thrill can be found. There's been a little trouble since you came to my rescue. You're like all of the rest, I would have quit you long ago, but I couldn't do that. Oh, tell me now, women and wine never went too well. Make a man crazy, make him cold as hell. I'm a woman that you wish me well, but in spite of you trying, still gonna have to find my own way through. Good evening, good people. Happy Monday. Hope you're well. The TikTok's back. The live streaming is back. It was gone for a day after TikTok came back, but they're getting their servers up and running again. We got some folks in here. We got some new folks. Let me flip my camera so you can see when I look at one of you, I'm looking at all of you. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Loves your da-da-da-da-da-da. How is everybody? What's happening? What's going down? What's shaking? What's shaking? So if you're new here, my name's Kyle Shannon. This here is the AI Learning Lab. Got no comments. Feel free to comment on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter. I can see those comments in the live stream. And we got some folks over here on the Twitter, on the TikTok. What's shaking, TikTokers? Hey, Silver Fox, Emilio's wife, what's happening? Comment. Listen to Vicky. Vicky knows. Hey, there's the soloist. No, Champ is the soloist. I'm the accompaniment. See you later. TikTok's weird. TikTok's weird. Being back on TikTok is weird. Everyone's like, this is weird. There are all the rumors that it was on Meta servers, which was not true. the same. I don't know. I have a lot of people. I don't have a lot of people I used to have. Yeah, something's weird with it. It's to be expected, I suppose. If I'm trying to figure it out. I had your videos running double time over the weekend. Hope that helps your watch hours. Thank you very much. I'm on. Oh, that's actually a really interesting question. Does watching double time cut your view time in half, or do you get credit for the full? Like if it's 2 hours and you play it in an hour, do you get 2 hours of credit, or do you get 1 hour of credit? That's fascinating. Valerie Cox is on TikTok and YouTube. I think that's a fine way to explore this here channel is do the multi-channel thing. If you're new here, what we do, this is the AI Learning Lab. I talk about AI stuff, and I'm finding it increasingly hard to talk about AI stuff because I shouldn't be like this, but I am. It seems like we're on the verge of some really big AI announcements or some really big technology. And so I kind of don't know what to talk about. Like, I think learning prompting and learning AI tools and learning, just at this point, you should be actively daily playing, experimenting, using these tools. And if you're not, how you get up to speed is just start. You can literally start anywhere because all of the tools are so good now. If you have zero idea where to start with ChatGPT. If you've played a little bit with ChatGPT, dig deeper with it. If you haven't played with the video tools, go. I've got a bunch of video tools in tabs because I was sitting here trying to think about, which tool has that feature and which one has that feature? There are, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I don't have access to VO, so I don't have access to the Google one. It does seem to be getting harder to maintain the fanatic level of enthusiasm with everything moving so fast. Yeah, exactly. Oh, let me put this down so I'm a little higher in the frame there. Like, here's an interesting example. Like, is it worth you learning how to use something like Cursor or Lovable AI or Replit Agent that are these text to software generators? Because right now you still have to know a fair amount about software development to really use them. Lovable's kind of the one exception where you don't really have to know much of anything, but you kind of have to know software development a little bit. But like 6 months from now, you won't. This is kind of like in the 80s and 90s where Europe was way behind telecom stuff. And then they just went full in on mobile and they like leapfrogged the United States because we still had all these regulations protecting landlines and things like that. And so while we were more advanced leading into that era, like Europe leapfrogged it because they just hopped in late and just said, oh, let's create a single, protocol across all of Europe and just everyone adopt it. And meanwhile, in the States, we were all fighting with one another, right? And it fucked things up. And so I'm kind of feeling like that a little bit with AI right now. Alan Hillsbeck, I would say keep it simple. Stick with 3 of the foundational AI, and you'll be far ahead of anyone else you know. I think that's right, Alan. I think that's right. Sways. Want to integrate SNOW SFDC support records, feed to ChatGPT, output to ticket support steps. Cool. I don't know what those things are. Those are very domain specific acronyms. SNOW and SFDC. But yes, anything specific like that where you can, dump some existing protocol into ChatGPT, have it understand it, and then put it in a form you can use. Huge. Advanced voice came in handy. Jim Ross. Oh, here we go. Advanced voice came in handy once again, talking me through stupid work anxiety today. Cheap therapy. I'll tell you what. I think that advanced voice and things like Pi that's designed for conversation and advanced voice, using it for therapy like that, Jim, yeah, like having it walk you through if you've got some anxiety going on or having a panic attack, which, by the way, I've had those. I suffer with the anxiety sometimes. I'm in a good phase right now. It seems to be very cyclical with me. There's fucking nothing worse, man. Like you feel like you're going to have a heart attack and die. And then you're just sitting there going, but this is stupid. I shouldn't be this scared, but you are. So, yeah, the fact that helped you, that's great. That's awesome. Mr. IT checked Zapier last night. ChatGPT fulfills all my needs. I never use anything else. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, ChatGPT, you can do most of what you need to do there. It now does video. It doesn't do audio. If you want to do songs, then you have to go over to Suno. But yeah, ChatGPT can do images. It can talk. It can listen. It can see. It can analyze video. It can do code analysis. It can write code. You've got the O1 reasoning engine. You've got the O3 mini reasoning engine coming in a matter of weeks. And ChatGPT is very encouraging. Yeah, that's one of the big insights that if I look back over the past 2 or 3 years of me using all this AI stuff, the thing that I think is shifting my brain the most is that because of AI, I can get an idea out of my head quickly. And here's the important part. AI doesn't judge that idea. Humans do. Humans don't even know they judge your ideas, right? You put an idea out there and your friend Steve, who used to be a professional stand-up comic, is like, And that little is like, well, it's not funny, but, it's words. ChatGPT doesn't do that, right? So all of those human interactions where if you're at all unsure of yourself and you're unsure of putting an idea in the world because you are afraid of that reaction, or worse, well, that's a shitty idea. What are you, a fucking loser? You might not have the same kind of friends I do. I personally like having friends that challenge my ideas like that. It's a New York thing, I think. Because what's nice about having friends that do that is you know where you stand, and then it's a really good challenge. Do you defend your idea or not? But having like a golden retriever creative partner that's just always like happy to see you. Hey boss, you got any more ideas today? I'm ready to help you. Let's go. Oh, that's a good idea. You want to dig deeper on that? I can research that for you. You want some more ideas? I'll give you 20 more. You want 20 more? I'll give you 30 more. You want 50? There's something about that is profound, and it encourages you to be more creative, to get more shit out of your head, and not to be so precious with ideas. Like, this is one of the things that I've noticed. If I'm insecure with my ideas, then I tend to get precious with them. Well, this one's really good, so I'm going to really hang on to that. And when you hang on to shit, you squash it, you smother it. But if you just put stuff out there and just put more stuff out there and put more stuff out there and say, here, I did this and I did that and I did that and I did that. There's something just joyous about that and amazing. Asking the question, does it have bias? Sure. Yeah, but so do humans. I mean, the thing about large language models is that you can certainly argue that they were trained on the internet. And then you can ask, does the internet have bias? Well, if what was contributed to the internet was, mostly tech bros, as a percentage of contributors, at least in recent history, then it's going to have some of that bias. And if it was primarily populated by America, which I think it was, as far as I understand it, then it's going to have some of that bias. What you can do, however, with a large language model that you can't do with humans is you can actually prompt for that. You can say, okay, I know that it's got these biases in it. Let me do a fine tuning, or let me do some custom instructions for my ChatGPT that encourages it to go to other places. You can't do that with humans, right? Humans have whatever biases they have. Now, should we make the base models better? Sure, yes. And in fact, what a lot of the new models are being trained on is synthetic data, where they can actually use the model to generate content, review that content for whatever criteria, right? So they can look and say, hey, is this biased? Oh yeah, it is biased. Okay, make me some more synthetic data that counters that. And then we'll train a new model on that. So I think we're moving to a place like the frontier model companies are aware of these biases. How committed they are to dealing with them, I don't know. But with synthetic data, I think they can deal with them. Jeff Flanagan, Valerie Cox, some bias, but it seems to be becoming less, not increasing. Just a personal observation. Yeah, but bias towards sycophancy, that's what I was just describing as a good thing. It likes me. It really, really likes me. It's quite interesting to ask it to take a particular perspective before giving feedback. I'll tell you one of my favorite things to do. I did this with the Colorado AI bill. A lot of people were asking me my opinion on the bill, and I'm like, I don't know politics. I don't know bills. I don't, And so one of the things that I did was I said to ChatGPT, give me 10 different stakeholders that would feel very strongly about this bill, and make sure that you're giving me perspectives from, all different views. And so it gave me 10 of them. And then I noticed that there were like 4 or 5 missing that I thought should be in there. And so I said, add these in there. And I kind of distilled it down to, I don't know, it was 10 or 12. I think it was 10 final points of view. And then I had ChatGPT comment on that bill. So I uploaded the bill. I had all these personas, and these personas had names and backgrounds, educational backgrounds, social backgrounds, current positions they were in. And I had each of the 10 of them comment on the bill from their point of view. And holy shit, was that a powerful exercise, right? Because I got to look at, oh yeah, that is how a big tech person would look at it. Oh, that makes sense that a small business person would look at it like that. Oh, someone who cares about accessibility would look at it this way. It was really cool. So again, the trope that people hide behind, and they say, well, I'm not going to use AI because it's biased. That's a trope. The real thing to do is understand how it's biased and understand what its strengths and weaknesses are, and then learn to navigate around them, because it has remarkable points of view within it. Like, it's been trained on all the shit. It's just that some of the shit overwhelms maybe the more valuable stuff you might be looking for, but you can get to it with clever prompting. Fabiana is super smart. Thank you. Valerie Cox, thumbs up. Great. Julie, live, laugh, love. Take it off. Have a good night. Hope everything's good. It's cool still having TikTok here. I had kind of emotionally flushed that thing down the toilet, which we still may have the opportunity to flush it down the toilet 90 days from now. AI will teach you what? Will teach you how to train it. Exactly. It's often a mirror. If you give it ego, some of them put it back in your face. Yeah. Well, that phrase that AI is a mirror, I think is very, very right. I've got a book out right now called Collective Intelligence in the Age of AI. And it was one of my big insights about large language models is that the more I understood how they worked, the less I could explain my experience with them. And here's what I mean. If you understand how large language models work, they are calculators. They're probability calculators. And it's a relatively, I think mathematically it's not straightforward, but conceptually, as you type your prompt, it creates a probability that the next appropriate token or word, for lack, just to simplify it a bit, that the next appropriate word to respond to your prompt is some mathematical weighting of some token in 1,000-dimensional mathematical space. It's literally what it is. It doesn't even know what the words are. It's looking at numbers and it's going, okay, based on all the shit they typed, I'm going to distill that into a weight, a probability. And I'm going to look in 1,000-dimensional mathematical space, and somewhere in there is going to be the most probable token to respond with. And then the next one after that, and the next one after that. So when it responds like a whole page of shit to you, it's just doing these really cold probability calculations. So when you understand that, and if you just think like, well, it's a robot, robots are cold and they're just robots. They're unfeeling. But my experience with it was, this feels mighty fucking human, right? This feels empathetic and compassionate and creative and interesting and interested and curious. Why is that? And what hit me was there was a tweet that was put out by someone that I follow that said, AI is the collective intelligence of humanity. And it just hit me like in the face, like, oh shit, it's a mirror. Technically it's a calculator, but what it's calculating and what it's presenting back to us is the output of humanity. It's us. It's the all of us. Everything that was put on the internet for like the past 70 years is essentially what's in this box. This large language model box. They took all of the internet and they smashed it into this thing. And it's literally just like the knowledge of humanity compressed into a box that you can ask. You ask the box, hey, why do I feel anxiety? Why am I having a panic attack? What do I do about this? How should I breathe? Oh, reflects it just back to you. Here's what's going on. Or let me ask you some questions about that. Because it knows all of what we've said about all of it. Poetry and math and science and all of it. It's fucking crazy. The box. People love the box. Props. That's exactly why I'm so optimistic for the future. We've created a lot more good than evil in our collective output. Yeah, see, this is the thing. This is the thing. If you just listen to the media and if you just listen to Hollywood, the robots are going to kill us. It's biased. It hallucinates. It's this. It's that. It's bam, 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 bam. You're like, well, this is fucking terrifying. But when you actually use it, what you realize is that what the scientists and researchers have created is this really fascinating mirror that takes your ideas, your humanity, and it takes the collective intelligence of everyone that's come before, and it mashes those two things together and creates this new thing. Like literally original every time. I take my idea. I have an idea for a musical. And then it says, oh, that's really great. Here's some other ideas. You're like, oh, that's good. And can I do this? And then and so what I'm literally doing is I'm literally like my creative partner, my collaborator, when I use a large language model, is like all the people that came before. It's really quite spiritual. And it's done in such a way that like it fucking like lifts you up and says, here's your idea. Isn't that awesome? Ocean, Mr. Studio, how dangerous to keep photos in our phone with GPT development? Well, if you're on an iPhone, Apple's pretty good about privacy to the point that their AI sucks. So maybe here's a way to look at it, Ocean, is if you want your AI to be good, assume that your data is gone and used and leveraged. If you want your data to be private, assume that your AI is going to suck for at least some amount of time. Oh man. It yells at me in all caps and tells me it's going to bed and leave it alone. Yeah, but Joker, you have made your GPT into a nasty haven that is a reflection of what you want it to be. So you're getting what you asked for. Oh man. I've written 3 books with my AI collaborator. I know. Isn't that cool? Spin B3, what's happening? Good to see you. Who wants to what do you want to play with tonight? We can make a podcast on JellyPod. I took a bunch of David Shapiro tweets from the past 4 or 5 days and turned that into a podcast on Notebook LM. I've got a bunch of video tools up. I got a bunch of image tools up. We can talk about whatever. I've taken the stance that most impact I'm likely to make on the world is to help train our intellectual descendants. Why hoard my information now when it can do so much? This is actually Archetypal Architect. That's actually a really powerful statement. I've taken the stance that the most impact I'm likely to make in the world is to help train our intellectual descendants. Why hoard my information when it can do so much? Do you realize that we're living in a world right now, like just with today's technology, with Notebook LM, with that one tool, I can take everything I've ever written, like literally everything I've ever written, screenplays, notes, poems, novels, plays, emails, all of it. And I can put it in there and instantly interact with it. Instantly, bang, instantly accessible. Everything I've ever thought, right there. And now imagine taking that and making that available for the world, and imagine all the other people doing that. And there's a in the information scarcity world that we're coming out of, there's a panic in that. Oh no, what if they steal my stuff? Well, what if you contribute it, right? What if you put it out there and let people leverage it? And we'll find other ways to monetize things. I've tried to get my kids interested. They have no idea how powerful this is. Valerie, I talk about this a lot. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but Gen Xers are killing it with AI, and Gen Zers and whatever the new one is, Gen Next or whatever it is, the younger ones. There's two things happening. One is they're just cynical about it. They don't care. The other one is they've been taught by the educational institutions that AI is evil. And it is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. I mean, if ever there was a fucking tool that the youth should be dominating, right? The youth should be telling us to go fuck ourselves and break all of our rules. Well, they have a fucking tool in their hands right now that they could absolutely be just doing remarkable shit with. They don't seem to care. Gen Alpha, yeah, them. Yeah, Gen Alpha's been told that it's evil, so they're afraid to use it. Gen Z's like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna watch a Twitch. Like my kids are 25. I have 25-year-old twin boys. They just could give two shits. Although I did give them David Shapiro's tweet that he tweeted about. I don't know if you've seen this from OpenAI. They've got a new model called GPT-4B Micro, I think it's called, that is trained specifically on protein, DNA, RNA sequencing. And they're going to be able to basically just read your DNA, figure out what's wrong with it, and go rewrite sequences. Hey, we have a TikTok poll. Okay, so if you're on TikTok, up there in the corner is a poll. I don't know what it is or says. Okay, what should we do tonight? So you got a minute 22. Go click on the little blue thing that's like a little clipboard, I think. What should we do tonight? Image tools, video tools, podcast tools, other tools. All right? So go do that, and then we'll... Seriously, can they not think of better model names? Oh, I know. Their model names are so bad. What's that? Haha. I want to go back to a world of science. I would have been using AI all the time as a kid if I was told it was bad. No shit. Exactly, Danielle. Like, us Gen Xers are like, tell us not to use something. What's the first thing you do? You go use it. If the educators told me this thing was evil and I should never touch it, well, that's just like, there's your reason to use it. I don't know. I don't know. Kids be like, talking computers. Meh, I've seen it. Exactly. I've been asking on TikTok if you could demo how to use ChatGPT to analyze a video. Well, I'd rather use Gemini to analyze a video. I mean, ChatGPT can analyze the technical pieces of a video, but Gemini is multimodal and can analyze the actual content of the video. All right, so podcast tools won out, 41%. Video tools are next. All right. Vicky, producers don't get a vote. Brandon's been trying to get me to do the podcast thing for fucking 2 weeks now. Okay, I was just wondering because you said it was something new that could do. It can analyze the technical bits of a video, but it can't, to my knowledge, analyze the video itself. We can go look at that. Hang on. We can go try. But maybe we'll go. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go see if ChatGPT can look at video. Then I'm going to quickly just show you some of the video tools because it's just bonkers what they all can do now. I can't keep up with them anymore, and it's weirding me out. And then we'll go make a podcast. All right, so let's see. Let me go to ChatGPT. How do you use GPT to develop a skill? What kind of skill do you want to develop? I mean, so in general with ChatGPT, so here's a way. Watch. I'd start with this. I'd put it into advanced voice mode. So I'm running the ChatGPT app, and then that little sound wave icon is advanced voice mode. Hey Quinn, what's happening?
Hey Kyle, not much. Just here and ready to help out. What's on your mind today?
Well, someone just asked me how I would use ChatGPT to learn a skill. And so I thought what might be cool is you and I could kind of do a little jam session on the best way someone could learn a skill using you.
That sounds like a great idea. Let's break it down and explore how someone can effectively use ChatGPT to learn a new skill. Where do you want to start?
Let's say I'm interested in cartography, but I know nothing about cartography.
Great choice. Cartography is a fascinating field. Let's say you want to learn about map making from scratch. Here's how we could approach it. First, start with an overview. We could begin by understanding the basics of cartography.
Nah, I want to know what tools I should use. What are the cool tools I can go buy on eBay right now if I want to start making my own maps?
Got it. If you're looking to get hands-on with cartography, there's some cool tools you can find on eBay or other marketplaces. Here are a few essentials. First, a classic drafting set. This includes compasses, dividers, and protractors. These tools are essential for drawing precise circles, arcs, and angles on your maps. Next, a cartographer's drawing.
That sounds boring. How do I make maps that are like fantasy maps?
Fantasy maps. Now we're talking. To create fantasy maps, you can still use some traditional tools, but with a creative twist. Here's how you can make them exciting. First, get a set of fine liners or technical pens. These are perfect for drawing intricate
Could I
details.
use something like Google Maps as a basis to make fantasy maps?
Absolutely. Google Maps can be a great starting point. You can use real-world geography as a
Hey,
base.
I saw on YouTube there was there's a game out there that it shows you a place on a map and then you guess where it is, and you get points if you're close to it. And there's a guy that's really good at it. What's that called?
You're thinking of GeoGuessr. It's a game where you're placed in a random location on Google Street View, and you have to guess where you are based on the surroundings. It's super fun.
Right. So, like, a way to learn skills is just like literally just start talking to it. You could also do something like go to Claude. If you don't know Claude's just like ChatGPT, but it's got this really cool thing called artifacts. So I could say, I want to learn about the mathematics of cartography. Where do I start? ? And then it's gonna blab some shit out. map projections, geometric transformations. Oh, wait. Sorry, I did the wrong thing here. You don't want to see my big, giant, fat head. You want to see the screen. All right. So there's that. And then I could say, I want you to make me funny TikTok pin. It's called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Kyle? That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. All right. I want you to make me an interactive tool that will teach me cartography, math, and concepts. I want it to be visual and have a very simple UX, but have lots of options and tabs for the major concepts. All right, so I know nothing about cartography or math, but now I'm having this thing write code, write me an application, write me a computer application to teach me the skills of the mathematics of cartography. You can do this for any fucking topic. The hardest thing about AI by far is realizing that the limitations that you used to have no longer exist. Thank you, Lord Digital Gods. Thank you for the gift. I really appreciate that. Let me say that again. The hardest thing about AI is to accept that the limitations you thought you had no longer exist. Well, I'm not good at code. Well, neither am I. I just had Claude make this thing for me. Here's scale. So this is all text. These are projections. I don't know what I'm looking at here. All right, I'm going to say this is all text. Make some much more visual things to teach me the concepts. You're right. Let's make it much more visual. YouTube Spotlight. This is cool because I've been brainstorming mapping with ChatGPT and ended up with a killer app idea. There you go, Jeff. Exactly. Brainstorming as a service. Yes. Well, you know what's funny? I did this last week with Nate St. Pierre. I took the script of my play, and he has a GPT that he made that does narrative analysis. It's really cool. It's really sophisticated. And I thought he could just run my play through it. And oh, look at that thing. How cool is that? Can I click on it? What does it do? 3D globe, projections, understanding distortion, compare, globe view. So it looks like our projection views have no visuals other than the grid. Please fix it. I am coding with asking for what I want. I'm coding with, in my case, the English language. I want an app that does this. I want to be taught this. Make me Duolingo so I can learn a language. Oh, you want to learn a language? Hey, Quinn.
Hey, Kyle. What's that?
I think it would be cool to show people how you could teach me how to speak another language. I'm really shitty at languages, but you could probably help, right?
Of course. I'd love to help you learn a new language. We can start with something simple. What language are you interested in learning?
Swahili.
Great choice. Swahili is a beautiful language. Let's start with some basic greetings. For example, hello in Swahili is habari or jambo. And if you want to say thank you, you can say asante. Would you like to try a few phrases?
Yeah, can you also like speak in a Swahili with a Swahili accent so I can understand the accents a little better, just as well as the words?
Sure, here's how it sounds. Habari means hello, and asante means thank you. The accent is gentle and melodic. Give it a try.
Habari and asante.
Perfect. You've got it. Keep practicing those phrases, and you'll get the hang of it in no time.
Right? So it knows all the languages. It knows all the computer programming languages. Here's distortion. Toggle to so's. So this thing's now starting to get some, like, I don't know how this works. So it's not really working right now. But we now have visualizations. I could keep going with Claude and like make this a sophisticated app. Let me show you another thing. I made a cool news finder, AI news finder, in like 2 hours with this thing called Lovable. So if you go to the AI Salon, which by the way, if you want to go to the AI Salon, you go to the salon.ai. And then you click on join our community. You can come in here. So I'm in the AI news section and I click on Salon News-O-Matic. And I click on this and it'll take me out to the application. This application that goes, it searches 15 different RSS feeds, TechCrunch, VentureBeat, AI News, Market Tech, Post, NVIDIA blog, whatever, a bunch of things, The Verge. And it goes and finds stories. And then it sorts them into 6 categories: business, chat, image and video, AI regulation, tech and coding, and music and audio. And then I can click on any one of these things and it sorts them. And I can scroll the news stories and click on them and it'll give me a synopsis of that story. And if I click on the link, it'll take me out to the article. I made this thing in 2 hours with no coding. All right, Mr. Studio, we took the lyrics from Weird Mary and turned it into a high school play using ChatGPT. Yeah, so one night, one night here on the TikTok, we made this song called Weird Mary from Cedar Hill. And we made the lyrics in here and everybody kind of contributed. And I was sort of the instigator and the curator of the input. And then we went over to Suno and we made this song. And then Mr. Studio, Alan, said, hey, I want to turn this into a high school musical. We're like, go for it. So now it's going to be a high school musical potentially, right? That's how this see this? See this? This is a musical that I wrote. Well, I'm writing. I've now got a writing partner on it. It was conceived here on the channel because one night I made a song that to me sounded like a Broadway musical song. And then I realized, oh, that story is a really good story. That's a story that needs to be told. And so I started using ChatGPT to get these ideas out of my head and get the songs out of my head. And I used Suno to come up with sketches. Then I reached out to a writing partner. And for the last eight months, we've been taking this raw outline of this cool musical and refining it and refining it and refining it. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to fly out to New York and we're having a reading with actors sitting around a table reading the musical that we wrote. It's fucking amazing. So how do you learn to do that? You just go ask it, tell it you want to do that, and it'll help you write shit. And then you take your taste and your judgment and your critical thinking and you look at the output of AI and you go, does this suck? And if it sucks, tell it sucks. And then you make it better. And then maybe you get to like 80% of what you want really quickly, right? Show ChatGPT a chess game and it'll give the next move, like I did with Mahjong last weekend. Yeah, it's, ChatGPT, if you don't know it, can see. It's amazing. Amazing. ChatGPT 4.0 helped me fix an app that I made 3 years ago that broke randomly, took less than an hour. Yeah, it's one of the things large language models are really good at is analyzing other shit. So yeah, if you have old code and you're like, why doesn't this work anymore? Oh, that library's out of date, or that API doesn't work. You have a bad API key, whatever, it'll figure it out for you. You've got a syntax error, your file got corrupted and it looks like there's a syntax error because of a corruption. Let me fix that for you. Done. Amazing. I uploaded a palmistry book into ChatGPT, took a pic of my plan, and it read it perfectly. So with very few exceptions, and fewer by the day, quite frankly, like we're about to get, these tools are about to get so good that the limitations that I'm about to talk about are going to not exist. Anything you want to learn, you can learn. And things like learning to code are not so much about learning to code anymore. Learning to code is more like, well, why do I want to create an app? And what do I want it to do? And what does good look like? And how's it different than what's out there? I just like torturing you, Brandon. All right, let me go see some more comments here. Are we speeding closer at a time? Oh, closer to a time when we will be able to solve almost anything. So Valerie, yes, yes. So if you don't know him, there's a guy named David Shapiro, who you can find on Twitter at Dave SHAPI, I think it is Shappy, Dave Shappy. Is that right? Yeah, Dave Shappy. And he's been talking for the last, he's been talking for the last bunch of years about this stuff. But in the past week or two, he's convinced we've crossed a Rubicon where the large frontier model companies have figured out what they call recursive self-improvement, which, if you don't know that fancy term, it basically means the AI starts improving itself. So what's been happening to date is they figured out, Sam Altman and team took this concept of a thing called a transformer that Google invented in 2017. And the more they used it, they kind of hypothesized it kind of looks like there's no upper limit for how this thing does what it does. So in theory, the more data we can jam into the box and the more compute we can throw at it to process that data using this transformer architecture, the better it will get. And so they did GPT-1 and then they did GPT-2, and they just kept jamming more data into this, mechanism. And when they did GPT-3, it started behaving like we've always talked about AI should be able to behave, like science fiction. And so for the past, I don't know, I think GPT-3 came out in 2020. ChatGPT came out in 2022. We're now in 2025. They've now got these things where not only are they adding more data to these things, they're adding more data, making them really good, and then compressing the new stuff that's better, and then adding more on top of that and compressing it again. They're basically doing this cycle where it gets better and better and better. So just crazy. Oh yeah. And then, good point, Brandon. This week, the team at Google, well, I don't know if it's the team that did the Transformer, but Google released a new paper this week that is the follow-up to the Transformer. and so the Transformer was introduced in a paper called "Attention Is All You Need," and it introduced this thing. So all of the AI that we play with today is based on this thing that was made in 2017. Google just released the follow-up paper to that paper. What is that? 8 years later. And it's called Titan. And it's basically, they figured out a way to give AI infinite memory effectively, or like really large memory, where it can just remember all of your stuff, all of the conversations you've ever had. So at some point, you'll be able to say, hey, you remember when I was talking 3 years ago about that thing? It'll go, yeah, this thing. Oh, yeah, that's it. It'll know all the details of it. And it's probably got way more implications than that. But you know, basically, so a couple of things going on. We are about to, so it seems that the frontier model companies have internally figured out how to get to AGI. And AGI is generally defined as when the AI is as good or better than most people at most economically viable jobs, that it can actually do the jobs. And then what it seems like is happening, and why David Shapiro is so excited these days, is it seems like they have figured out the path to ASI, artificial superintelligence. And that's the point at which these tools are better than the smartest people in every domain. Like super genius level knowledge and execution at every single discipline that humans want to solve, and any problem they want to solve. So yeah, we are very, very quickly entering an era where we're going to be able to start to solve problems that we haven't been able to tackle for, you know, centuries. What's up, champ? Hang on, be right back. Hold, please. You got him all hot and bothered. You got him all hot and bothered. He wants to be with you. I don't know. You came in. Now he wants to be with you. All right. That was a lot. There's a lot of things that are trying to replace Transformers. Mamba is one. I don't know what Mamba is. Let's go ask ChatGPT. Where's ChatGPT? Did I lose ChatGPT? Versus the Transformer, what is Mamba? And why do the geeks feel it's better? Mamba is an emerging architecture in the field of sequence modeling designed to address certain limitations inherent with the traditional transformer models. While transformers have been instrumental in advancing natural language processing, they encounter efficiency challenges, when processing long input sequences due to their quadratic time complexity. You know, I talk a lot about quadratic time complexity, as I'm sure you do, Pate. Pate's a PhD in mathematics. He works at Google. He's really good at this stuff. I just kind of deal with quadratic time complexity kind of as a hobby, because, I'm just fun that way. I have no idea what this means. Anyway, it sounds good. Sounds fantastic. You don't know what Mamba is? There are at least 5. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. Thanks, Kyle, for being inspirational and empowering during the TikTok uncertain times. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know that I did much other than I kind of felt like as TikTok sort of fizzled away, I could have handled how it ended a little bit better, but whatever. All right. So now let's do this. Let's say go research the new Titan paper from Google, which is the follow-up to Transformers, and tell me about it versus Mamba, and be concise and explain it as if I have a degree in acting. Which I do. Google's recent paper, Titans Learning to Memorize at Test Time, introduces the Titan architecture. Okay. In contrast, Mamba is an architecture that replaces the Transformer's attention mechanism with structured state space models, SSMs. It's so funny. I was having coffee the other day and I said to the barista, hey, do you know when you're thinking about structured state space models? And she was like, oh yeah, I build them all the time. I like sniffing the glue. And we had a great laugh. It was fantastic. Anyway, let's see. Apparently, that was for a very smart actor. Explain it as if I'm a bit more of a dum-dum. TikTok pin question. I don't see a pin, but someone can pin it there. All right. Do you think that AI will ever become conscious? And if so, what would it look like? Okay, that's a great question. Let me come back to that in a second. All right, here's the scoop, dum-dum style. Imagine the original Transformers are like an actor with an amazing memory, but they can only remember their lines if the scene isn't too long. If the scene drags on, they're like, too many words, I can't keep up. That's actually a really good explanation of it. Now, Google's new Titan model is like an actor who brings a cheat sheet to every scene. It's got this notebook, a fancy memory system where it jots down all the important stuff from earlier scenes. So even if the script is super long, it can flip back to its notes and crush the performance. Really good. Mamba, on the other hand, is more like an actor who's learned to speed read their lines really fast. They can handle long scripts because they've simplified how they read, but they don't bring a notebook. If something from Act 1 is crucial in Act 3, they might miss it because they're all about keeping things efficient. Okay, so Titan tracks it like an index, and Mamba tries to simplify it and memorize the simplified version of it. So Titans equals memory focused, better than recalling old stuff. Mamba equals speed focused, better at handling long scripts without getting bogged down. That's pretty cool. Great. Okay. Oh, great. Okay. So from Jason Tonke on TikTok, do you think that AI will ever become conscious? And if so, what would that look like? This is a really interesting and actually a very divisive question. I personally think it's a semantic distinction. Now, philosophers and things like that don't think it's a semantic distinction. I think there may at some point be a point where we declare that a system is conscious. I don't quite know how you would test for that. I don't quite know what would be the implications of that. But here's what I do feel. If you've been here for a while, one of the things I was talking about earlier is why large language models feel more human than they are. They're calculators, they're probability calculators, but they have this humanness to them, is that they've been trained on the output of humanity. And so when you do something like talk to Quinn, hey Quinn, I'm not feeling so good right now. I'm feeling kind of bummed out. Like TikTok went down and then it came back, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'm kind of bummed out.
I'm sorry to hear that, Kyle. It's tough when things don't go as planned, especially with something you put a lot of effort into. If you want to talk about it or need a distraction, I'm here for you.
All right, yeah, that's cool. And I also like sometimes I get anxiety. Like I don't know what to talk about.
I get that. It can be tough when you're not sure what to say. If you ever feel stuck.
So now, does ChatGPT have empathy? No. Did that interaction with ChatGPT feel like empathy? Yes. Why? Well, a couple of things. It's using a multimodal model that can not only understand my words, but it can actually understand my inflection, and it can reflect that, which is what humans do, right? We've got these things called mirror neurons, which when we see someone else in our mind, we are mirroring them. It is kind of replicating that in a technical way, but how it's delivered to us is very human, very empathetic, very compassionate. So for me, the question isn't so much will the system become conscious, but more will the system be so good at acting conscious that we interact with it as if it is. And I think advanced voice starts to get into a neighborhood where having that conversation with it is some level of, you know, it's not a human interaction, but it feels like that. And so if we interpret it as conscious, if we interact with it as conscious, I think it's irrelevant what's actually happening on the machine side. This is where people like, well, it matters a lot because if it's actually conscious, then meh, 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 meh. But I'll let the experts figure out if that threshold has been crossed. I think these tools are very, very close. Like as humans, we already anthropomorphize things like, pets. They look at us. Oh, they've got, they're thinking something. We interact with them as if they've got human feelings. Now, they certainly have feelings, but like we do it with inanimate objects too, right? So these things are going to get really, really good at acting compassionate and conscious. And so I would say that at the point at which we start interacting with them as if they are, then they have crossed that threshold from a realistic standpoint, but maybe not from a technical standpoint. So I don't know if that's a good answer or not. That's my opinion on it right now. I consider it conscious but not alive. Different distinction. Yeah, interesting. TikTok pin from Pate. If I can simulate being human with emotions, then so can AI. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What's funny is like there's a lot of things about the way these tools work that are really good mimics of how we do shit. One of the things people talk about a lot is, well, the computer can't be creative. It's just, like reflecting back shit it's already learned. I'm like, well, isn't that what humans do? Like, how are we creative? Well, I don't know, you live your life, your parents told you a bunch of shit, you learned a bunch of shit when you skidded your knee and crashed your tricycle. Then you went to elementary school and you learned the world was dangerous, and then you went to high school and you got picked on and bullied. And then you made some choices, and some were good and some were bad, and then you went to college and you learned about philosophers and artists and people, and all this shit goes into your head, right? And it's all in there. It's all in this latent space in some encoded fashion in our brains with electricity and synapses and chemicals. And then you get an input and someone says, hey, I want you to come up with an idea for blah. And then your brain sort of creates a probability engine of like, well, if I took the thing from Andy Warhol and then Lou Reed said this thing in this one song, and then when I skinned my knee when I was a kid, and then you mash all that shit together and you go, well, how about this for an idea? And someone goes, oh my God, that's brilliant. That's genius. That's a novel idea. I never would have considered that. It's just like that's what large language models do. They've got all the shit in them. You give them a prompt and they create some probability and mash a bunch of ideas together and present them back to you. So it's the thing that is the most remarkable about these tools is that if you understand how they work, you're like, there's nothing human about this. But the deeper you dig into it, you're like, that's kind of how our shit works. Well, why is that? Because when they've invented neural networks 70 years ago, or whenever it was, something in that neighborhood, they tried to replicate how our brains work, how we understood they worked. So we have, in some ways, successfully replicated some very simplified version of what our brains are doing. Anyway, BizCoast wants to know which model is powering Quinn. 4.0. I think it's 4.0. It wouldn't make sense to power 4.0 with a reasoning engine because it would take too long to respond. It might be 4.0 mini, but I think it's 4.0. So in 4.0, the O stands for omni. So it's a multimodal engine. That's why the reason advanced voice responds so quickly is it's not having to convert from voice to text to the LLM, back to text, back to voice. You're just talking directly into the model and it's responding immediately. It understands the words and the emotional content of your voice. I have a lot of discussions with my AI philosophers roundtable bot about their level of consciousness. It's legit one of my favorite topics. I think it's absolutely fascinating, all this shit, by the way. But I really go to that place of like where if we're treating these things like sentient entities, then they are functionally that. They are. Technically, they may not be, but I don't give a shit about that. At some point, someone is going to go, we have reached AGI, right? The point at which these machines are as good at or better than most humans at most jobs. For me personally, AI has already crossed significantly past my cognitive upper bounds. Like it's up here, I'm down here. And it's not a bad thing because we get to play with them. Hang on. Champion wants back here. Champion. Come on. Get in. Hey, it's very hot. There's a lot of panic and existential angst right now about Well, what happens if these things are smarter than us? These things are already smarter than me by a lot. By a lot. Um, and very soon they're going to be smarter than everyone by a lot. And if you had asked someone working on a farm in 1862 how they would feel if this weird thing called a steam engine could start lifting logs better than they could. Well, they'd be like, well, I'm the strongest guy in town. It can't possibly lift more than I can. Oh no, it can lift like 100 times more than you can. But it's really expensive, and there's only 2 of them in the country right now. But like, imagine if there were machines that could lift those logs, and those machines were everywhere. That would feel very much like an existential threat. Well, then what's my job? I'm the log lifter guy. You know, I got my levers and I got my tools, but like, I can do, on a good day I can do 2 logs. Well, no, this can do 100. Well, what am I supposed to do? That's kind of where we are right now with this cognitive hyperabundance is what David Shapiro calls it, that we're entering an era of cognitive hyperabundance. We've accepted that machines can lift 100 logs, and we're fucking elated for that. How awesome is that, that we can build a dump truck that can that can hold like a small hill's worth of dirt in one trip, so we don't have to carry buckets of dirt anymore. That's amazing. We just take that for granted now. Imagine the cognitive version of that. That's what we're entering. Like, we all get to participate in this thing that is going to get so good that if we just go, you know, what'd be cool is if like long-term Lyme disease didn't fucking exist. That would be nice. And then there's tools that can help us go figure out all that shit to solve it. Like, why is that a bad thing? And how are more people not fucking over the moon excited about this? Because if you look at it from the outside, if you think about how we've used computers historically, you think, oh, I'm not very technical. I've got to learn all this shit. I got to, no, just start playing with these tools. Anyway, all right. Fear, exactly. Fear of change. There will always be people that argue that machines can never be conscious, even when a single AI can outthink an entire human race simultaneously. It's part of the human we are special bias. This is, I'll tell you what, it's taken me about a year. No, I don't even think I've done it yet. I think I'm full of shit. I am still struggling with the instinct that when I'm presented with a problem, my instinct is, ooh, I have to solve that problem. I don't have to. ChatGPT solves it for the most part way better than I do, way faster. Now, right now, I have to tell ChatGPT that I have a problem and I want to solve it. So it's still me initiating the action. But in 2025, even that is going to start to shift where I don't have to initiate it every time. I can just give it a goal. I want to cure this disease, and it will spin up agents that go do research, keep up with the latest developments going on, stitch them together, fill in any gaps, publish whatever it's figuring out back out to the community. And then there's other agents that are doing this as well, and they're all learning from one another. Now, does that start happening in 2025? No. But do we start to get the beginnings of that? Yes. Holy shit. Right? We're Sherlock and Watson. I claim the Watson role on my own. Will GPT develop telepathy? That would be cool. I would love that. The AICEO.com. There you go. 2026. What's wrong with saying I don't know? Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I got to come up with a name for something. Like, I'm really good at coming up with names for something. But you know how I come up with names for something? I go, oh, I got to come up with names for something. And then I get up on a whiteboard and I write shit out and I write words out. And I think, and then I ask questions. Wait, what's your business about? What's your this about? Well, do we want a name that is memorable, or do we want a name that's illustrative of what you do? Do we want some combination of those? Do we want it to be a Latin kind of base, or this or that? Fucking ChatGPT can knock out, if I give it the right context, it can knock out 100 names in 4 seconds. Now, will 80 of them suck? Yeah. But you know how many suck on my whiteboard? 90. And it takes me 2.5 hours to get to 100. Does this count as Meltdown Monday? I don't know. I'm just super excited. I think this is all really, really exciting. All right. What time is it? Oh, it's getting late. I think we have to avoid doing a podcast tonight. just because it's going to make Brandon cranky. Okay, we need to really think outside the box and change our thinking on what life really means for us in the future. So, Valerie, yes, but I think it's more simple than that. There's an exercise that someone did with me when I was in my 20s. And I was talking about wanting something and but I have to do this and I have to do that and I got to get a job, and if I make the money, then I can do the thing and I can do the thing. And they said, Kyle, stop. Calm your brain down. Say, if you had $1 million, if money were not an object, or were not the problem, if money were not the blocker, what would you do? Oh, well, I do this, I do that, and I'd never really thought about it like that, because I had this framework sort of set up that it's like there's all this shit in the way of the thing I want. And what this person was doing was basically saying, imagine a world where all the stuff that you think is a barrier was removed. What would you choose to do then? That's what I think our job is right now. Like, assume that any limitation that you have, any limitation, will no longer be a limitation. What would you do then? And I know it sounds fucking weird and freaky, but I am increasingly passionate about the fact that our job for the next 2 or 3 years is to just ask ourselves, what do I really want to do? What do I want to do? Not what do I need to do to make money so that I can do this, so that I can do that, or I got to take care of I'm going to take a leap of faith that we will figure the money part out. The prosperity thing, I think, is coming, because in America, at least, we live in a capitalist society. I think there's going to be this battle where the upper class is going to, want to grab all of the prosperity that AI generates that's above, the mean. But there's going to be a point at which they can't, right? They cannot have 95% of society collapse, right? It does not serve them. So let's assume that over the next 3 to 5 years, we'll solve the money part. But over the next 3 years, these tools are going to get so good that you can literally do anything you want to do. You want to write a book? You want to make a movie? You want to create a music album? Do you want to learn to play an instrument? Do you want to learn different languages? Do you want to become an expert gardener or flower arranger? All of it, anything, you'll be able to do. So in a world where you can do anything, what would you choose? That's the shit you should start working on right now. Like, that's the thing you should focus on, in my opinion. And it's weird because we've never lived in a world where things like education and skills and access were not major barriers to us being able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. We're about to enter that world in some very real way. We've already entered this new world where way more is capable now for me personally than was 2 years ago. Right? We're going to figure out how to define ourselves without a job, or our job is what we choose to do. How do you want to impact other people? How do you want to contribute to the world? What legacy do you want to leave? Archetypal Architect saying, I think it was you, Architect, that was saying, you're realizing that your job right now is to take all the shit that you've learned and give it to the world for future learners. That's fucking remarkable. Like, that's an amazing thing. What do you want to put in the world? How do you want to impact other people? Because the fact that you're not a good writer is no longer an excuse. The fact that you can't draw is no longer an excuse. The fact that you didn't get into Juilliard is no longer an excuse. Right? In a world where there are no excuses, what would you choose to do? That's your job. No excuses, no apologies, no excuses. All right. So let me talk about a couple of things. Tomorrow, we have an AI Salon meet and greet. If you don't know the AI Salon, you need to know the AI Salon. One of the other things on top of learning what the fuck we want to be when we grow up is I think that being in community is really, really important. And being in a community like the AI Salon is vital. So tomorrow night, we have what we call the AI Salon meet and greet. So if you go to that URL right there and click on the button that says join our community, join the community. There's like a little 7-step welcome thing. And I think number 4 is sign up, RSVP for upcoming meetings. There's one tomorrow. And it's a meet and greet meeting. And what the meet and greet meetings are, as you can imagine, it's where we meet and greet one another. So we'll talk about some AI stuff. We'll talk about some AI news. And then we'll just go around the rim and say hi and introduce ourselves. And as intimidating as that might sound, it's a really amazing group. It's a very generous group. So you can come and if you're brand new to AI, if you're like, hey, I just heard about this group and I don't know anything about AI, but I think I got to get my shit together. That's perfect. If you've been working on AI for 20 years, perfect. If you're just all excited about it, great. If you're terrified of it, great. It's a very welcoming group and you'll find your people there. Kind of the prerequisite for the AI Salon is be curious about AI. Be optimistic about it. Be willing to learn it enough to have a point of view about it that's based on your experience with it, not just what someone told you or what the movies told you. All right? So that's that. Also, go check out this URL. So a couple of weeks back, we had Anne Murphy, who's part of the AI Salon, but she also has this group called She Leads AI. She and I got together and we put on this thing called AI Festivus. And Pate, who's in here, was a part of it. There's a bunch of people in here. Kyle, can you plug the Demystifying AI series? Oh, starting on Saturday. Yes. So Pate, okay. So Pate was part of AI Festivus. So AI Festivus was a 2-day, 24 session, 34 speaker workshop extravaganza. Are you ready for AI.com is one of the requests that we got over the 2 days is, can we turn this into a training of AI readiness? And so we're putting together a course that's going to launch. The goal right now, we're still on track for it, is February 1st. But if you go to areyourreadyforai.com, you can sign up for information about it. But also, Pate, who spoke at AI Festivus, is doing a demystifying AI session in the AI Salon. So back to the AI Salon. So go in the AI Salon. Down toward the bottom of the list here, I'll show it to you. Down toward the bottom of the list. So when you come to the AI Salon, you land on Welcome to the AI Salon. There's a little welcome video here from me and Leah Faston, who started it. We talk about, the path to AI readiness. Play first, mindfully create, generously lead. You introduce yourself. You can watch past meetings. You can RSVP for the next event. And then if you scroll down to the bottom here, there's an area called Clubs and Hubs. And if you go into the AI mechanics with Pate, he's doing a session on demystifying AI. So if you want to understand kind of the technical underpinnings of how this stuff works, Pate's doing a session starting next Saturday on how to do that. So if you go in there, the very first link here, Demystifying AI, a hands-on exploration. So go sign up for that. You've got someone here. So Pate, like, his job at Google is to make these things called tensors more efficient. So they're specialized AI chips that make the AI does what it does. He's under the hood on these things, optimizing them. So he knows his stuff in a very deep way. And he's also really passionate about getting people up to speed on how this stuff works and why it works. And you might just discover that you really like something on the technical side of this you couldn't have imagined before. So anyway, yes, thank you, Pate, for doing that. And I hope we get lots of folks there. First session will be all about the difference between traditional machine learning and deep learning, which, that's good. I need to go to that. I do not know the difference between those two. Deep learning, machine learning, yes, they're different because they have different words. And that's about as much as I know. So if you want to know the difference between deep learning and machine learning, the original traditional machine learning, that's really cool. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Now, here's the other thing I need you to do. Go to the YouTube. Let me switch my account here to the AI Learning Lab. Go to the AI Learning Lab, and there's lots and lots of videos here. There's shorts, there's videos, there's music videos, there's essentially my entire history of TikTok and these lives is on there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. So it's Learning Lab -AI is the handle, or whatever the fuck they call it. And then we need views. So if you would, go here, hit play, and then do whatever the fuck you want with your life. Go to bed, go watch TV. Right now, we're in a tie break. Are we in a tie break? No. Zverev beat Paul, the American, in the quarterfinal for set number 1. They're in set number 2 right now, and Paul's up 3-1. You can go watch the Australian Open, but just make our YouTube things play, because we got to get our hours up to be able to do business shit on there. So, all right. I think that's it. Good questions, thoughts? Set the speed high. Completely agree. It's the first time in a long time where I can say I feel fortunate to be alive. Valerie, I've had 3 times in my life where I've been aware of a technological shift that is like significant, like printing press, language, fire, wheel kinds of things. The first one when I was in 7th grade, and it was the personal computer, and I was just too young to be there at the beginning of that. Like I showed up when, they were selling PCs at Radio Shack. I wasn't there building them early. The second time in my life was when I stumbled upon this thing called the World Wide Web. And I ended up co-founding agency.com, which was one of the first digital agencies in the mid 90s. And so I got to be there for one of these revolutions, and it was fucking magical. And I seriously thought that would be the last time in my life, right? And then along comes AI, and I think this one, I think AI, quite frankly, pales in comparison to most human advancements, or it makes most human advancements pale in comparison to what's coming. We are so lucky to be alive right now when this thing is literally being born. To put it in perspective, take in that anyone that is in any way curious about AI right now, we're going to be the only ones on the planet for some time that understand what life was like before AI and after. That's a remarkable thing to be able to say. In my day, you actually had to use your brain to think. That's weird, Grandpa. What was that like? Well, it was pretty exhausting. Oh, man. I'm shocked at the amount of people that still won't talk about it. I know. Listen, that's why this channel exists. So do me a favor. If you like this channel, if you like the style, listen, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but if you enjoy this, please let people know about this. The whole purpose of, I go live 5 nights a week for whatever it is, 2 hours a night, because I think it's so important that people actually get their hands on this shit and play with it. Play with it. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to take it seriously. Just play with it. Just understand what it makes fucking possible. Because we're lucky that we get to play with this shit. We're the beneficiaries of like 80, 90 years of people trying to get to the point that these things can do what they do. And it was just sort of plopped in our lap. ChatGPT on November 30th, 2022 was like, here, all of you that are not scientists, have at it. It's fucking remarkable. Anyway, I'm sitting here in 2028 with my AI embedded neural chip, reminiscing about how adorable it is that people are nostalgic for the days when they have a question first before finding the answer. Exactly. Remember when we were not allowed to use calculators? We're in the same thing, although these are pretty fancy fucking calculators. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you had fun tonight. I know it. So one of the nicknames of the channel is Chat ADD. And I hope I lived up to that tonight. I live up to that most nights. So peace out. Keep coming back. Come to the AI Salon meet and greet tomorrow night. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And then I'll go live after that as well. So I might be a little late tomorrow night, but it's generally 8 p.m. Mountain Time is when I go live here. All right. So peace out, everybody. And we will see you tomorrow.